They thought I was clueless, until I rolled out the cart that made her drop the box in panic. Before we begin, if you've ever been made to feel like a stranger in your own home, like you're just overreacting, you're not alone. This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who's been disrespected behind closed doors. So if it resonates, like, share, and subscribe. Someone else out there needs to hear this too. Hi, my name is Mabel Whitmore, and I'm from Sacramento, California. I live on a quiet cul-de-sac where lawns are trimmed on Saturdays and neighbors wave politely from across the driveways. From the outside, my life probably looks peaceful, stable, even happy. But what people don't see are the small cracks. The silence. The slow, steady erasing of myself. I've been married to Grant for 13 years. He works in construction management. He's a hands-on, get-it-done type of guy. I handle accounts at a logistics company and work full-time too. We don't have kids. That was his call, and I agreed, back when I still thought giving things up for love was noble. We split our bills evenly. Not always how I thought marriage would look, but life happened. At first, it was a missed payment here, forgot to mention, loan to a friend or his sister there. Eventually, I stopped mixing my savings with his. Quietly, he noticed, of course. Gave me the tight-lipped smile like he wanted to argue but chose not to. And honestly, I was tired of arguing over things I never even signed up for. Then came Tessa, Grant's younger sister. She's 38, twice divorced, full of sarcasm, always broke, but always with a fresh manicure and a crisis story. When she called a few months ago crying about being evicted, I knew what was coming. Grant pleaded, she just needs a few weeks, babe. Just till the end of the month. Please. I wanted to say no. But I didn't want to be the villain in his family's never-ending soap opera. So I said yes. That was 8 weeks ago. At first, she stayed in the guest room. But her things started spilling. First into the bathroom, her makeup and hair tools scattered across the counter like a teenager's sleepover. Then the kitchen, she left mugs with lipstick stains in the sink for days. Even the laundry room, my detergent started going missing. But I kept calm, until the day I saw her walking out of my bedroom. Not near it, inside it. Oh relax, she laughed. I was just looking for extra towels. I said nothing, but the next day, I started locking the bedroom door before heading to work. Then came last Friday. My office shut down early due to a systems update. I didn't tell Grant. I figured I'd surprise him and have a quiet afternoon to myself. I pulled into the driveway around 1 p.m. The house was oddly quiet. No music blasting from the guest room. No clinking from dishes being carelessly tossed in the sink. I walked in, and heard soft thuds from upstairs. I took off my heels and crept up. The door to my bedroom was wide open. And there she was, Tessa, in my closet. She had a big donation box in front of her and was yanking out my clothes, tossing them in like they were old rags. Oh hey, she chirped without missing a beat. You weren't supposed to be home yet. I was just helping you clear out stuff you don't wear. I blinked. Excuse me. Come on, Mabel, half of this stuff is ancient. It's literally collecting dust. And what gives you the right to decide that? I asked, stepping forward. I just thought I'd be helpful. Grant said. I didn't even let her finish. Grant walked in just then, grocery bag in hand, and paused when he saw me. Hey, you're home early. I turned to him slowly. Did you tell your sister she could touch my things? He looked between us like a deer in headlights. I thought you'd be fine with it. She just wanted to help organize. You've said you wanted to declutter. I looked at the box again. A silk blouse from my anniversary dinner. A scarf my late mother gave me. Gone. Tossed like trash. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Instead, I walked out of the room. 5 minutes later, I rolled a cart from the back storage room, my cart, one I kept tucked away in case of emergencies. On the front was a laminated sign that read in bold letters. Tessa's things, return to sender. Every item she had littered across the house. Her shoes, bags, skincare, fast food wrappers, even the chipped mug she kept, forgetting, in the sink, was packed up and neatly labeled. I wheeled it down the hallway and parked it in front of the guest room. The moment she saw the label, she dropped the box she was holding. "Wait, what is this?" "You're moving out," I said, calm as ever. "By tomorrow," Tessa sputtered. "You can't be serious." I raised my brow. "Do you want me to call a moving van, or shall I?" Grant tried to step in. "Mabel, can we just talk?" "No," I cut him off. "You had 8 weeks to talk." I gave her space. "I gave you grace. Now you both need to respect mine." I turned and walked out of the room, leaving them both in stunned silence. But that was only the beginning. The moment I started locking that bedroom door, I also started paying attention. And what I saw, what I heard, what documented is going to change everything. Let me take you back to that day. When I pulled into the driveway and saw the garage wide open, I knew something was off. Grant never leaves it open. Not even by accident. Then I saw them 3 brown boxes sitting neatly by the door. Each one was marked in bold black ink. Donation. I froze. For a second, I thought maybe Tessa was cleaning up her mess. But when I stepped inside the house, the stillness hit me first. No clatter from the kitchen. No fake cheerful humming from Tessa. Just low voices coming from the hallway. I moved quietly, following the sound like my body was acting on instinct. And then I heard her. Tessa, laughing. "She hasn't worn this in years," she said, holding up something. "God, some of this looks like it's from high school." And then, I heard Grant. "Yeah, she holds on to stuff forever." My chest tightened. I inched forward, heart pounding, and peeked into our bedroom. My closet was wide open. Tessa was standing in front of it, folding my clothes. Grant was beside her, hands in motion, helping. My jackets, my scarves, my sweaters, even the silk one my mother gave me last Christmas, tucked into a donation box like junk from a garage sale. They were laughing, and I just stood there, frozen, not in rage, not yet, just this hollow kind of shock, like the walls of my own life were peeling off and I couldn't stop it. I stayed there, silent, for 30 seconds. Maybe more. Then I turned around and walked not into the kitchen, not to scream or demand answers, but into the old office room. The one we stopped using after Grant's renovation ideas took priority. It's been mine ever since. Quiet, undisturbed, and in the back of the closet, hidden behind an old coat rack, was something they forgot I had. A black, locked rolling file cart. Inside that cart is everything. Tax records, insurance policies, medical files, our prenup agreement, the house deed in my name only, and most importantly, a flash drive filled with ring cam audio backups. Grant doesn't know the camera's record sound, but I do. I pulled the cart out slowly, checked everything, made sure the label was still taped to the front. Legal records, property title, prenup, audio evidence. Then, with steady hands, I wheeled it down the hall, straight back into our bedroom. The moment I stepped in, the room shifted. Grant jumped like a guilty child caught stealing. Tessa actually smiled at first, like I was just going to thank her for her help. But then her eyes fell on the cart. She read the label, and I watched her drop the sweater in her hands like it burned her palms. Grant blinked. What is this?" I didn't raise my voice. Didn't cry. Didn't yell. I just looked at both of them, steady and quiet, and said, "It's what I keep, in case someone decides to forget who owns this house." Grant's face changed, like something clicked in his brain for the first time in years. He looked at the cart, then back at me. "What are you talking about?" he said, laughing nervously. "We were just trying to help you declutter." "No, you weren't," I cut in. "You were erasing me." The room went silent. You could hear the wind through the window. Tessa blinked first. Her face hardened, and without a word, she walked out. Grant stayed frozen a moment longer, then followed. I didn't chase them. Instead, I rolled the cart back to the office, locked it, went to the garage, brought the 3 donation boxes back inside, and I put every single item back where it belonged. That night, I didn't sleep in our bed. I slept in the guest room. And in that bed, I didn't cry. I planned. Because this story isn't over. Not even close. That Friday, something snapped in me. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, like the sound of a door clicking shut in the back of your mind. A final click, where I stopped pretending everything would just blow over. The next morning, I came downstairs to the smell of eggs frying. Tessa was in my kitchen like nothing happened. She was using my cast iron skillet, the one my grandma passed down to me, the one I always kept seasoned and clean. Grant was right behind her. He laughed like this was just another lazy Saturday. Sue, someone woke up dramatic yesterday, huh? I didn't say a word. I poured myself a cup of coffee, grabbed my keys, and walked out the door. I went straight to Shay's place. She's my best friend, been in my corner since college, and she works as a paralegal for a firm downtown. When I told her everything, she didn't even blink. She leaned forward slowly, resting her mug on her knee. "They're trying to edge you out, Mabel," she said, soft but serious. "That's how it starts. First it's your clothes, then your space. Then, they make you feel like you're the problem. Like you're crazy, or in the way, in your own house." I didn't argue. I just nodded, the truth of it sitting heavy in my chest. I stayed with Shay for 2 nights. I didn't call Grant. He didn't call me either. When I came back Sunday evening, something felt different before I even stepped out of the car. I walked up to the front door, pulled out my key, and nothing. The key wouldn't turn. I tried again. Still nothing. I knocked. No answer. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Grant. "Did you change the locks?" A minute later, his reply came in. "Yeah, Tessa said you were acting unstable. Thought you needed a few days to cool off." I stared at the screen. My chest tightened, but I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even call him back. Instead, I walked around the side of the house to the back gate. They forgot I still had a key to the shed. It was old, rusted, barely used anymore. But behind the workbench, hidden under a loose panel, was a spare key we'd stashed years ago. They didn't know I remembered. I walked into the house through the back door like a ghost. Grant and Tessa were curled up in the living room, watching TV like they hadn't just locked me out of my own life. Tessa jumped when she saw me. Grant stood up fast, arms half raised like he was surprised. "How did you?" I held up the key. "You forgot about the shed." Tessa opened her mouth, but I raised my hand before she could speak. "You had no right to lock me out of my house." Grant tried to smooth it over, like always. "Look, we just needed some space. You were being irrational." I walked right past him. Straight to the bedroom. The door was locked. They locked me out of my own bedroom. But they'd forgotten another thing. My dad used to run a repair shop. After it got robbed once, he gave me a lockpick kit and showed me how to use it, just in case. 30 seconds. Click. The door opened. Everything looked the same, except one thing. The file cart was gone. My stomach dropped. I turned and stormed into the hallway. "Where is the file cart?" Tessa raised her eyebrows like I was speaking French. Grant just looked tired. Like he'd aged 5 years in 2 days. "We moved it," he said flatly. "It's in the garage." I didn't wait. I went straight out there and found it shoved behind some boxes. They hadn't opened it. The zip tie I put on the handle was still in place. But they'd touched it, tried to hide it, tried to move it out of my reach. That was enough. That night, I scanned every single document from that cart. Tax files, insurance, the prenup, audio backups. I uploaded them all to secure cloud storage. I sent Shay full access with instructions. Just in case. Then I started building the rest. Printouts, screenshots, text messages between Grant and Tessa, ones that weren't just about decluttering. Messages that crossed lines, deeply personal lines, lines that explained why she was always around, why she always took his side, why he was suddenly needing space from me. And the worst part, he thought I hadn't noticed. They say the truth always finds its way to the surface. But in this case, I gave it a little push. It started with trash. Literal trash. 3 weeks before the closet incident I was in the upstairs bathroom, our bathroom, not Tessa's, though she'd been treating it like hers. The trash was overflowing again. She never took it out. She'd just pile her makeup wipes, floss, and half-used lashes on top like a lazy queen expecting someone else to clean her throne. I was annoyed, tired. I tied up the bag, ready to toss it straight into the outside bin when something slipped out and hit the tile. A crumpled envelope yellowed a bit at the edge. Tessa's name. A county court seal. My fingers hesitated. It was already open. I told myself I wouldn't look. I'm not that kind of person. But then I saw it, a child's name. I unfolded the letter carefully. Wage garnishment order. Unpaid child support. For a child aged 11. Father. Stephen Lang. I reread it. Twice. Then again, slowly, like my brain couldn't catch up. Tessa had a child. No one ever mentioned a child. Grant swore she was child-free like us. All these years, I thought she was just a tornado of drama, not someone hiding from a whole life. But that letter, that was no minor mess. That was a big, ugly secret, and she'd been burying it beneath my roof. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I took pictures. Front and back. Documented it. Added them to my cloud folder, labeled, in case. Because by that point, I already didn't trust her. Or Grant. Something inside me had shifted. Fast forward to the day I visited the real estate attorney. I slid the title across the desk. He scanned it, raised his eyebrows. You own it alone. Yes. Then if you want him out, we can file a formal notice. 30 days notice, served legally. I nodded. I filed that Wednesday morning. Paid the fee. Didn't tell Grant a word. That Friday, while he was working a job site 2 towns over, a process server handed him the notice. My phone rang that afternoon. It was him. He was furious. What the hell is this? I answered plainly. You don't live here anymore. There was a pause, thick with disbelief. You're throwing me out over clothes. I took a deep breath. No, I'm throwing you out because you chose your sister over your wife. You let her take over my closet. You locked me out of my bedroom. Out of my house. You watched her disrespect me again and again, and you helped. Then I added, now you both need to go. The silence that followed was so sharp it made my ears ring. But I wasn't done. What they didn't know, Tessa had even more to lose. The same week Grant got served, I sat at Shay's kitchen table with my laptop open and tracked down the father listed on the court document, Stephen Lang. Took me a while, but public records are powerful when you know what you're looking for. I found a phone number listed on a plumbing company website in Oakland. Called it. A man answered. Stephen Lang. Yeah, who's this? I swallowed and spoke carefully. My name is Mabel Whitmore. I believe you're listed as the father of Tessa Whitmore's child. Silence. Why are you calling me? I'm not trying to stir anything. I just thought you should know. Tessa's been living at my house for nearly 2 months. She's not couch surfing. She's not unstable. She's here, every day, taking over my space, claiming it is hers. His tone changed immediately. She told the court she had nowhere stable to go, he muttered. Said she'd been crashing on floors, living out of her car. They gave her an extension on her payments. I opened my backup folder, pulled up the scanned envelope, the photos, the screenshots of her name on donation boxes and remodel sketches she had texted Grant. I have evidence, I said. And I can send it all to you. Do it. I emailed everything without hesitation. 10 minutes later, he responded. Thank you. The court's going to want to see this. Planning donations and home makeovers, but she can't afford groceries for her child. That's going to look real bad on her. I didn't tell Tessa what I did. I didn't need to, because when the storm finally hits, I want her to be standing right where she thought she was safest. You can only push a woman so far. And by that Tuesday morning, I had been pushed past every line, so I decided to pull the final thread. That day started like any other. I was sitting on the porch, tea in hand, pretending to read when I heard Tessa's voice through the screen door. Her phone was pressed tightly to her ear, and the tone was frantic. What do you mean they reopened the case? No, that's not possible. I don't live there. I'm just staying for a bit. I don't have money. Hello. Hello. She slapped her palm against the doorframe, then stormed back inside. I didn't move, didn't say a word, but I watched her face fall, her eyes darting, chest heaving like the walls were actually pressing in. Exactly how I wanted her to feel. She wasn't in control anymore. Grant was next. It happened a week later. I had purposely left my laptop open on the kitchen counter. The audio files from our Ring cameras were saved on the desktop clearly labeled by date. I made sure the most damning clip was already selected. It played the moment he clicked. Tessa's voice, loud and unmistakable. Dean, if we box up enough of her stuff, maybe she'll just leave. Then his reply, flat and deliberate. She's stubborn. You'll have to make it so she doesn't feel welcome at all. Then Tessa again, chuckling. She won't fight. She never does. I watched him from the hallway. He pressed play again, then just sat there, staring. He didn't even bother closing the laptop. That night, he didn't come upstairs. He slept on the couch, probably pretending it was his idea. I didn't speak to him. I didn't have to. By then, I'd already written the letter B, the one addressed to his supervisor. See, Grant had forgotten something critical. His work contract included a strict workplace harassment clause. And while our home isn't his office, what he and his sister tried to do, coercing and isolating me from my own property, counted as emotional manipulation and intimidation. And I had the evidence. Recorded, dated, filed, everything was ready. They just didn't know what I was about to do next. The final move came 2 weeks after Grant was served the 30-day notice. And still, not a single box had been packed. Tessa's junk was still piled in the guest room, her makeup all over the bathroom, her boxes stacked messily in the garage. They were trying to wait me out. Played chicken, thought I'd fold like always. They didn't know me at all. That Tuesday morning, I called in and took the day off. I waited until Grant left for work. Waited until Tessa grabbed her keys and left too, probably to run another imaginary errand. Then I got to work. First, I called a locksmith. I showed him the house deed and my ID, no issues. Within an hour, every single lock on the house was changed. Then I called a moving company. Gave them clear instructions. Pack everything in the guest room, the hallway closet, and the garage. Anything not mine or not listed in the prenup as joint property. Everything else stays. The movers were polite, efficient. They worked fast, careful not to touch a single item that belonged to me. By early afternoon, every single piece of Tessa and Grant's mess was boxed, taped, and labeled. I had it delivered to a storage unit on the edge of town, prepaid for 3 months in advance. Then I took a plain white envelope, slid a single key inside, wrote the address of the storage unit on a piece of paper. Taped it to the inside of the front door. Simple, no yelling, no argument, just facts, and finality. Then I cleaned the house. Really cleaned. I scrubbed the stove until it shined. Changed the sheets on the guest bed. Wiped down every bathroom surface. I even aired out the guest room, which had started to smell like hair oil and cheap perfume. I opened every window, let the air move through the house again. And as I stood in the hallway, hands on my hips, I realized something strange. It was quiet. Not the silence that comes with being ignored. Not the silence of tension, of being outnumbered. But real peace. Some people only learn when they lose everything they took for granted. And Grant and Tessa, they'll remember this lesson for the rest of their lives. It was nearly 5:30 p.m. when Grant pulled into the driveway. He tried the front door. Click, click, nothing. I watched from the upstairs window as he jiggled the knob, then stepped back, confused. Then came the banging. Open it now. I opened the window instead. He looked up, face flushed. I called down, calm as ever. Check the envelope inside. He saw it, peeled it from the glass. Opened it, pulled out the key and the storage address. What the hell did you do, Mabel? I didn't raise my voice. You're no longer welcome here. Neither is she. He started shouting again. I shut the window, turned off the porch light. Let him sit in the dark with his decisions. 15 minutes later, Tessa pulled up. She didn't knock. She screamed before she even reached the steps. "Open this door, you psycho. You can't just lock people out. I have rights." She kicked the door, threatened to call the cops. So I beat her to it. When the officer arrived, I calmly handed him the house deed, the court notice and the proof that both Grant and Tessa had overstayed their legal welcome. The officer looked through everything, then turned to them. "She's well within her rights. You'll need to leave the property tonight, with whatever you can carry in your car." I watched from the window as they stood there, humiliated. Then I saw it. Tessa crying for real, not her usual fake tears. Just rage, helplessness, and consequences. They left that night with nothing but their bags. But I wasn't finished. That same week, I sent a carefully prepared anonymous package to Grant's company. Inside, a USB drive with recordings of him and Tessa plotting how to drive me out of the house. A typed letter highlighting how one of the conversations happened during work hours. A note that he'd used a company-issued phone. HR responded faster than I expected. No, he didn't get fired. But he got demoted, lost his bonuses, and was slapped with a 6-month probation. His reputation, damaged. I also shut down every joint account we had left. What little was still in them went straight to legal fees and filing costs. And as for Tessa, the court reopened her child support case. Stephen the father pushed hard for back payments. I handed over the audio file where she laughed about dodging responsibility, called her kid, not her problem. The judge didn't laugh. Not even a little. Tessa was hit with a $14,000 judgment in back support. And if she ever lands a job again, her wages will be garnished until it's paid. She lost more than her temporary bedroom. She lost her shield, because Grant can't protect her anymore. As for me, I didn't walk away untouched. The silence afterward hit hard. For months, I'd been living in fight mode, gathering evidence, building timelines, staying 5 steps ahead. When it ended, the stillness felt hollow. That's when the real grief hit. Not for Grant, not even for Tessa, but for me, for the woman I used to be, the one who spent over a decade with a man who would have watched me vanish without blinking. That was my mistake, letting things slide, telling myself it wasn't worth the fight, thinking being quiet was the same thing as being strong. Never again. Now, the house is mine. Fully. Finally, I repainted the bedroom, donated the old bed, bought a new one that holds no memories of him. Sometimes, I still wake up, halfway expecting to hear footsteps in the hall. Tessa's loud laugh echoing from the kitchen. But then I remember, they're gone, and I made sure they'll never forget why. If you've ever been made to feel like a guest in your own life, let this be your sign. You don't have to accept it. Speak up, stand tall, and when the time comes, move louder than they ever expected you to. If this story hit home, share it. Someone else out there needs the courage to reclaim their own keys.